Hi, my name is Corah Louise. I'm an artist and I have a project. My project is to update my workspace, which is where I am right now, so I can feel more content and more professional when I'm creating and working. I'm doing this on a budget, so I'm not going to be buying anything like a brand new desk, but instead I'm going to try and make as much of a change as I can by altering the things that I already have and making small purchases along the way if I need them. I work from home, so that can be a little dispiriting some days to get yourself going when you're waking up in the same place and then working from the same place. So that means I want to create a space which is comfortable and inspiring and uncomplicated to use, so I'm more inclined to sit down and to create and work than I have been. So like I said, my space has felt the opposite of that lately. I've been working from other rooms in the house, which is okay to do sometimes, but I've been doing it because I've been avoiding my room. It's felt messy and uncoordinated, and it's felt like a big task just to sit down before I even begin working. So to fix this, I think I need to create a space which is more open, where everything has its own area to sit in, its own personal space, so that I can clean things up easily at the end of the day and find things more easily whilst I'm working, rather than having to rummage through everything to find what I want, or to just pile things up somewhere or stuff things in between books, etc., when I don't have a space for them to sit, which obviously just ends up building up and up until it's all just a mess. So that's definitely something that I need to focus on, is finding a space for everything to sit, so I know where everything goes, so it's clearer in my mind and in the space, and it just makes things much less complicated. I also want it to feel brighter. It's in a bit of a corner of a room, so I don't get as much light as I'd like to. Right now I've got some studio lights that I'm using to brighten the space up a bit, and I also want it to have a bit more of my personality. I think I want to go for something slightly more minimalistic, not completely, but just a little more in that direction. So I think I would like to make it look brighter in some way, not necessarily by adding lighting, but I think having a less clustered look will make the space look bigger and brighter, because as you'll see when I go back to the first footage for this, as I've already started it, everything was more contained and more clustered. I was very boxed into the space that I have, and I had a lot of pictures on my wall, all pictures that I liked, some things that I'd made and some things by other artists, but I think it was perhaps too much for the small space that I'm in and for the style that I'm kind of feeling at the moment. So I want to do all this on a budget and as quickly as possible. I have other projects that I'm very eager to get going on, so that means that I'm, like I said, not going to be buying any massive pieces of furniture, but I also won't be painting any walls or wallpapering, etc. I'm trying to do this as cheap as I can, but also trying to make a big enough change that I feel more comfortable in my workspace and it feels more like me. So that's the challenge, and like I said, I've actually already began doing this. So let's take you back to the first day where I start deconstructing the wall behind me, and then we'll see where we go from there. So as you can see, my space is now bare. I have stripped the wall of all the art, as you saw. I think that makes the room look instantly brighter. I also moved this piece of furniture around, so it was next to my desk. So I now have some more shelving, some more storage that I can use, and I think it looks quite cute as well. I also swapped out the hard fold-out chair that I've been sitting on for years for this very cozy computer chair, which I'm borrowing from someone who just doesn't need it at the moment. But I'll definitely be getting my own one when I give this back, because I can't believe how much more comfortable this is already to what I used to sit on. Painting in a hard chair for hours has been a sore task, but I was worried about a big computer chair taking up too much space in this small corner. But I'm happy to say I was wrong, and I'm thoroughly enjoying swinging around in this comfy computer chair. I also unscrewed and removed a slide out desk that was connected to my main desk, which I just built into it when I got it because it was part of the desk and I thought I would use it, but it ended up just taking up a lot of space and a lot of leg room, and I never used it at all, and taking that out has made a massive difference. My space looks bigger already, and when I'm sitting at my desk I don't feel as squashed in as I did before, so that's great. And finally, I have made a few purchases, the most expensive being this underdesk rolling printer stand with some storage underneath it for my printer to sit on top of, and I can't tell you how freeing it is to have that off my desk, that massive printer. It took up a lot of space because it's such a big printer, like I said. It was also a nuisance to use when I did use it because I'd stuffed it into this corner to try and get as much space on the rest of the desk as possible. So having to use a printer in that corner wasn't the most enjoyable experience either. But now I can tuck it away under my desk when I'm not using it, instead of it being a constant big block of an eyesore on my desk. And when I do need to use it, I can just roll it out and use it from the desk underneath. So that has been a really good purchase, even though it was my most expensive. I'm really glad I did it. I've also made a few smaller purchases, which I will show you in a minute. But for now, I'm going to start filling up all these shelves with all the myriad of things that I need to put in them. Hopefully they will all fit, and hopefully I'll be able to make it look nice whilst also being tidy and accessible for my everyday work life. So let's have a go at that. So I've managed to fit everything into its own specific space like I wanted it to. It is full to the brim now, so I really can't be buying much else, which is a good deterrent. But when I do buy something new that I need for work, I am going to have to spend some time finding a place for it, somewhere for it to fit in. But we'll get to that when it comes to it. I'm not sure if this looks like a massive change to anyone else, but it really feels like it to me. I have a more organised space, it feels wider and brighter, and I can put some of my curios on sale? I can put some of my curios on show, which I've been wanting to do for a while. But most of all, the new chair, which isn't new, but the new borrowed chair, the extra leg room, the keyboard and the laptop stand have just made things so much more comfortable for me, and made it an easier workspace, and my back is just really thanking me for that. I can't believe how much difference a good chair and a laptop stand makes. I really recommend getting a laptop stand if you just work from a laptop on a desk. I did buy some gold spray paint for the lamp. I was going to paint the silver part of the lamp under here, but I am not sure if I want to do it or not now. I'm worried about ruining the lamp because I do like this lamp. This isn't a new addition. I've had this around for a while, I've just had it sit in another place, but I thought it would look more at home here and I can show it off a bit here as well. I've never really spray painted anything before, so I don't want to make a mess of the lamp, but at the same time I think it should be okay. It's quite a rough surface, so I'm not sure if I'd have to do much prep anyway for it. I'm undecided. I'm going to do some research because I am not a DIYer, although I'd like to be able to do more stuff like that where I can just update things myself without having to buy something new. So maybe I just need to jump into it and have a go, but at the same time I really don't want to ruin the lamp that I've had for quite a while now, so I'll think about that and do some research first. Finally, I just really want to finish off the room by putting something up on this wall, which is very bare at the moment. I don't want to put up as much as I had originally because I think it can look a little cluttered in this space. I've seen it on Pinterest. I did a lot of research on Pinterest trying to find inspiration, and I saw some lovely desk spaces on there with a wall full of different prints, but I'm just not sure if it works here. Like I said, I'm in a bit of a dark corner, so I don't want it to be made to look darker than it is, so I'm kind of leaning towards the more, not very minimalistic, but more minimalistic to make sure it looks brighter and wider. I've been scouring the internet for some prints that I could possibly put up, but I haven't found anything in particular that I really love. So I'm thinking of creating something myself. I thought that would be a fun extra element, creating something new purposefully for going up on this wall, but I don't really have any ideas for it. But I thought, why not try and draft some ideas, see how it goes, and if I like something I can print it and put it up on my wall, and if I don't I can look for something else. But I know I definitely want a little something on this wall just to finish it off, and then we'll be done. But I'm going to draft some ideas and then I'll see where I go from there. Hello, so as you've just seen, I did decide to paint the lamp gold. I didn't end up doing any prep for it, I decided to just go ahead with it. All I did was dust it a little and I lightly sandpapered it, although I'm not sure if that really made much of a difference. But I sprayed about 3 layers of the spray paint on with no difficulty at all really. I only had a couple of minor issues, one which was the paper that it was sat on. When it was left drying, I didn't realise that some of the paper was stuck just to the bottom of the lamp here, so once it had dried and I pulled the paper away, it did pull a little bit of the paint off, but not enough for me to really be bothered about it. And then I also taped some of the cord, but not all of it, because the rest of it I just covered with the paper I was using to protect the ground, but I didn't realise that some of it had come uncovered when I was painting, so the cord is a little more glittery than it used to be now, but that's fine. So all in all, considering it was the first time I'd done it, it went pretty well and I'm really happy with the results. It applied really well, it dried very quickly, and I really like gold. I prefer gold, so I think it's more fitting for the style that I want to go for and my room, especially considering what I'm going to be hanging up on my wall, which I have decided on and I do have ready to go up. But before I show you that, I did move a couple of things around this area. I took a couple of things off the shelf which just wasn't really vibing with the space, particularly because of the colours that they were. So I had some like pinks and blues in certain things that I was just using from what I've already got, but I've moved them to another space now because it wasn't working in the colours that I'm going for here. And then I filled those empty spaces with some of the curios that I had sat on this desk. This corner was much more full before than it is now. I thought it was too much to have on my desk, which was the whole point of removing my printer and putting it underneath my desk, because it was taking up too much space. So I moved some of those things off the desk onto the shelves, and I think the space looks better now for it. So for the wall, I decided in the end to not create anything myself for it because I wasn't really sure what I wanted. I didn't have any particular ideas in mind, so I ended up not really drafting anything. So I decided to slow down a bit and just look for inspiration and any possibilities from secondhand shops and antique stores whilst I've been wandering around, just to see if I accidentally come across something or see something that is going to inspire me, which I did. In Buxton there is a shop called Maggie May's which has a lovely mixture of antique vintage curios, and I saw these 2 prints on the wall which I very much liked. Now if I was completely redesigning the space without a budget, I would be going for a very whimsical gothic vintage dark academia style. Walking around that shop in Buxton made me realise that was the style that I wanted to go for, because they very much had a lot of things on sale that were in that style, and I really liked them all and wanted to take them all home with me, especially these 2 paintings. And the space that I've got already, because of a lot of the white in the shelving and the desk, kind of takes away from that gothic style a little. This is very clean and very pure and not particularly vintage, so it kind of takes away from the idea that I had in my mind. But I thought, looking at these 2 pictures I saw on the wall in Maggie May's, that perhaps having a big statement piece on the wall that leaned towards that style, that vintage, that gothic, that dark academia, it would satiate my desire for that style without having to make any massive changes. So I'm not sure if you can see from the photo, but these PCUs were way too big for my space. They were absolutely massive, and they also were probably very expensive, although there wasn't a price on them, so I'm not sure if they were for sale or not. But unlike before, when I wasn't sure what I wanted, I didn't know what would finish my space off or what to hang up on my wall, I felt like I had an idea of what I wanted to go for and what this space was missing. So I wanted a vintage painting with preferably the subject being flora or fauna. I wanted it to have a gothic style to it, and I also wanted to have a gold frame because that was kind of the theme I was going for. I'm always drawn towards gold. I prefer gold in a lot of my jewellery, etc. And I just spray painted the lamp gold as as well, so it would match nicely with that. So that was the general criteria. And then talking to my dad, who owns a shop that sells eclectic things like records, vintage toys, comics and framed artworks. He looks out for a lot of these kind of things, in particular frames. So he told me that he already had a gold frame that looked a little vintagey that he'd paid £3 for in a charity shop that I could have if I so wanted to. So I went to have a look at it and I tried it on my wall, and this is what it looked like, and the frame was perfect. It was a statement piece because it was a reasonably large size, it was also ornate, and it was gold, it looked vintagey. I just fell in love with it straight away. The only issue was the painting, which just wasn't my style at all. I thought it was a very nice painting, and turns out, we didn't know this, but it turns out it was an original oil painting on a canvas, so we won't be just getting rid of that, we'll be using it for something else or selling it on to someone else. Really, like I'd already listed the things that I wanted, just didn't fit into that at all really, except for the flora element. So I removed the canvas and then went searching online to see if there is anything that would be more suitable that I could buy a print of and would tick all the boxes of the style I was going for, and I did find something and I have it, and it is in the frame, and so I'll hang it up now to show you what it looks like before I talk any more about it. So here it is. This is a painting from the 1600s called Reptiles, Mushrooms and Butterflies by a Dutch painter, Otto Martius van Streek. I have looked it up, I'm hoping that I'm pronouncing that correctly, I'm sorry if I'm not. I'd never heard of him before, but I absolutely adore his style. It has the whimsical gothic feel that I wanted. It's just vintage because it is a vintage painting. I also adore the subject, which is fungi, and I love fungi, and it also has animals and I love animals, and I just think it does create the feeling that I wanted it to in this space. It is very much a statement piece to have this big gold frame up on the wall. I know a lot of people might find that it doesn't fit in too well because it's such a large vintage frame on a small wall, but I really like it. I felt my space was missing something a little quirky. I love a little bit of extravagance, and with the desk being so simple now, it means I can go to town a bit on the wall without overloading the space. I know I said I was going to keep the wall simple and not over clutter it because I didn't want the room to look small and dark, but I think having such a large picture in just one of them helps keep the breadth of that wall, and the gold brightens the wall as well. So I think having that one large picture instead of lots of little ones has worked much better. So we're finally done. Here is a before and an after of what the space looks like. I really do think it's important, if you work from home or if you're a creative in general, to have a space which is inspiring, which you want to sit at, which is easy to navigate and easy to clean up, and is as comfortable as you can make it. It just makes a massive difference to how you work, and makes you more excited to start creating and working. And that can be done on a small budget or a reasonably small budget, or on nothing at all if you just want to change things around and have a look at what you've got around the house. Or there's a lot of things in charity shops like this gold frame, which was £3, but I just think that shows you that keeping a lookout and just nipping in these shops every now and then will give you things that are unique and cost a lot less. So I'm excited to now start working and creating from this reasonably new space. So I'll see you again in my creative corner in my next video.